Welcome to Upthinking Finance, a podcast that offers a unique and discerning view of economics and financial planning. Here is your host, Emerson Fersch.
Welcome to another edition of Upthinking Finance. Carolyn Mace once wrote, "Always go with the choice that scares you the most because that's the one that's going to require the most from you." One of those choices in my life was back in 1995 when I made the decision to leave a job I had working for a national bank as a financial advisor in order to start my own investment management firm, Capital Investment Advisors. Now, at the time, the bank job offered me an existing client base, a guaranteed salary, employee benefits. I had a fancy title, and also the hope that exists with most companies that I would, at some point in the future, move up the corporate ladder. But in spite of the protestations of my friends and some of my family members, I left that job to start my own firm because I felt I could do a better job. Over the years, I've been fortunate. I've met a number of people who've made that same decision at one time or another to leave the perceived security of working for a big company in order to hang up their own shingle. In some cases, people have not only left the company job they had, but they've started a business in a completely different industry. Today's guest, Lindsay Metcalf, is one of those people. Now, Lindsay is the sole owner of HomeConnect, which is a company based in Bozeman, Montana, that was created to eliminate the concerns that property owners have who are forced to leave their homes vacant for extended periods of time, and also to provide support for full-time residents who just need help managing the day-to-day and week-to-week and month-to-month details that come with homeownership. Some of the services that HomeConnect provides include weekly to monthly home check visits. She can coordinate deliveries, schedule maintenance services, and even arrange for housekeeping for those who are coming back into town. And in fact, if you fly into your Bozeman, she'll even arrange for transportation to get you to and from the airport. Now, Lindsay grew up in northern Idaho and has called Montana home since 2010. She has a fierce passion for the mountains, the outdoors, and her country. And when she isn't running HomeConnect, she's usually in the backcountry with her dogs or somewhere on one of the local rivers. Lindsay is an active member in her community. She serves as a vice president for a local nonprofit organization and is actively involved with the Bozeman Sunrise Rotary Club. She brings many years of client service experience to every HomeConnect contract and is really a wealth of information when it comes to the Montana experience. Lindsay has been involved with HomeConnect since day one and has been providing peace of mind for homeowners in the Gallatin Valley area since 2018. So it's my pleasure to welcome from Three Forks, Montana, Lindsay Metcalf. Welcome to Upthinking Finance.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I guess the best place to start is at the beginning, and maybe you can start with where your career began because it's pretty unique and how you ended up getting involved with HomeConnect.
Yeah. So my HomeConnect career started accidentally, sort of. But before HomeConnect, I worked at a bank, and that's where the founder of HomeConnect found me. I call it my 5-year interview because she was my client at the bank, and she's gold, and I know she was interviewing me for that entire time. But before that, I actually have a degree in equine anesthesia and veterinary technology. So that's really what I intended for my life, but God had different plans for me. So here I am.
Awesome. Now, how did you decide on a career working with horses? Because I actually never known anybody to do that.
Yeah. Well, I grew up riding horses, lots of animals, and I connect with them. I have a big passion for livestock, and so it just fit what was already just came natural to me to care for them. And I love veterinary medicine. I love helping things that can't help themselves, and to be able to then apply my background as an athlete to the horses was really cool. So I mean, they're athletes. We work on them. We keep them in their job and in their work, and it was really rewarding.
You know, it's funny you bring up the idea of horses being athletes. We had a speaker out at a client event a couple of years ago, Dallas Seavey, who I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's now the 5-time Iditarod champion, but he talks about his dogs as athletes and how he treats them, and it was really very eye-opening. So
yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah. So you go from this career working with horses to this opportunity that comes with HomeConnect. So how did you kind of make that shift? How did that work for you? That's interesting.
It was a humbling shift. I was pretty adamant, I went to school for this, is what I want to do for my life. But at the same time, working's a privilege. I don't just have the right to have that job because I say so. And there was a period where the veterinarian I worked for, he, so backing it up a little bit, I would snowbird. I would live 6 months, so the winter in Arizona and the summers in Montana, because the horses all go south in the winter. And so in the summer, he was working out of Bozeman, Montana, and then he purchased a veterinary clinic in Red Lodge. And so his primary residence in the summer went to Red Lodge, which is about 3-4 hours east of here. And I was newly married. My husband was like, I didn't really marry you to never see you. So, and I totally understood that. And it just was time for me to think about something else. And I just needed a job. I just had no business not working. And so I just took any good job, and I didn't really intend to stay at the bank as long as I did. But it was a great job, and I was grateful for the work, and it led to this, which is very, I think, rewarding. It's complete, full circle from what I started doing, but yeah, that's how it happened.
So you had mentioned to me that the HomeConnect, you originally were employed by HomeConnect. Am I getting that right?
Yes, sorta. So Lisa Collins, I think I can say her name.
Sure.
She was my client at the bank, and she invented this program. So she's a luxury realtor. She had a lot of clients saying, well, okay, so now can you check my mail and handle all this stuff for me while I live elsewhere in the winter? And so she invented the company, and she interviewed me for 5 years basically, and then said, I'm taking Lindsay from the bank. She made it worth it for me to leave. And I created my own company that employed just me. And then I was a subcontractor of HomeConnect. So I would invoice HomeConnect for my business management services. So yes, I was employed by them, but I wasn't an employee.
Okay.
Which is better, I think, because then they didn't have to deal with employee. There's a lot of ins and outs of having employees that we could avoid by me doing it that way. So
then there was a point where you became the owner. And so how did that work? Because I'm guessing you had, as a contract employee or an independent contractor, some kind of a salary. There was probably more security. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes and no. So I was an hourly, so I would bill them hourly. I'd send them an invoice every 2 weeks for my time. I mean, yeah, there was security there a little bit, but then as an owner, of course, I'm not invoicing myself. So I just take a salary now. And honestly, that feels a little bit less stressful to me than trying to make 40 hours as an employee. But I was also able to take on other work with my subcontracting company. So I was able to make ends meet just fine. But yeah, so as an owner, there's a whole nother level of, anxiety that comes with owning a business. It's not even just about the money. There's liability, and I had to, really understand my insurance policies and really understand where I was covered and legal. My contract, it's 12 pages, and it's a little bit wild. And I mean, I literally am going into business with my clients. I'm taking care of assets sometimes that are $6 million. And so, I've got a huge target on my back, right? I mean, that's on me if something goes really wrong. So that was even more stressful and less secure to me than the financial side of things. But yeah.
Because when we had spoken before, and you talked a lot about taking a leap of faith, you said that a few times. And so maybe describe that process, because I think one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I feel like there are a lot of people, there's this quote, Wild at Heart, John Eldridge wrote a book, and he talked about life not being a puzzle to solve, but it's an adventure to live. And oftentimes I think there are people who want to bust out and take a risk, which you have certainly. But there is that kind of jumping off point. And so, maybe you can explain that a little, because I think that's a big deal. It really is.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. And just trusting that it's going to work out. And if it doesn't, that's also for a reason, and you might not know that reason for a long time. But so when I left the bank and became a subcontractor of HomeConnect, I left an immense amount of structure. I left a job with, you know, really good benefits, reliable pay, a desk. I mean, you just don't even realize those creature comforts until they're gone. And I remember a couple weeks into working, I called Lisa and she's like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm really freaking out. I don't feel like I have a job. I feel like I don't have a desk. I don't have a home base. This is really stressing me out." And she giggled and she said, "You know what, let's make you comfortable. But in a year from now, you're going to look back at this and laugh at yourself, because you will just die if you ever have to go back to a 9 to 5 desk job." Well, so she got me an office. She made me a desk. She did everything to accommodate me. And I literally never went there. I think I went there for a week. And then I was like, oh, why am I coming into work? Like, that's silly. So, so I laugh at that now. I think about that all the time and I'm like, God, I was freaking out over nothing. So that transition happened. And so then becoming an owner, I had already worked through a lot of those fears and my role really didn't change. I was running the entire company on my own, basically. They were there for, a sounding board and initially to fiscally support the business until we made enough money to support ourselves. But yes, so the leap of faith was huge. I have a great support in my family. My grandfather passed away last August, but he was a huge supporter. Just absolutely do this. He has a very strong business background and business sense. He's a very successful businessman, and then my husband, like he always has the utmost confidence in me, right? And my dad, he was huge. He's like, "This is debt worth taking on. This is a risk, I know." And debt gives me anxiety, right? Because I needed to take money out to purchase the company. And, but I mean, it can't fail. Like the way that the previous owner set it up and the way that I had established it and myself already, I just didn't see it failing, but it's just still terrifying. And if it doesn't scare you a little bit, it's probably not worth it.
That's how I started this episode. Exactly. That's exactly right. And you said something about never going back to the 9 to 5, and you reminded me. I may have shared this with you when we talked before. My accountant friend, who's a client of mine, and he basically took the same path. Started his own accounting firm, and he goes, "At this point, I'm completely unemployable." And I just love that, because that's it. It's like how to go back to that sort of structure, and not.
I know.
So you mentioned the support, which is great, but you also, when we talked, shared about you guys being in a position to take the risk, and I think that's another thing that's really a good point that would be helpful to the listeners.
Yeah. So I'm 33. My husband's 38. I don't want to age him because that's a sensitive topic, but let's see, when this would have been 5 years ago when I first started working for HomeConnect, and then last year with the opportunity to purchase it, and I really owe a lot to my husband, just with how he's really like structured our finances and really pushed despite my pushback. I like spending money. Who doesn't? And I'm not as big picture, and he sort of has helped me grow in that sense. And so he's really set us up. I mean, I'll take a little credit because I contributed as a teammate, but that is really, a lot of it is his doing and setting us up to, have no mortgage and have no credit card debt, and we don't buy things unless we have money for them. And that was hard for me to grasp, right? Like, I want that thing. I want to buy it. I'm a kind of a typical woman in that aspect, but so I owe a lot of that to him. And so then this opportunity presented itself, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. And we were very, very fortunate to be in the position to be able to take on the debt comfortably, and the business was strong enough to pay that debt comfortably, but also knowing if it failed, we're responsible for it. And so, despite the hives of going into debt, it was good. And so being in that position, I just think that it's so important to really think long-term like that and really try to live within your means, even if it's not sexy. Like, you're not driving the nicest car, you're not wearing the nicest clothes. I mean, this is a hand-me-down shirt from my dad. Like, you just make do with what you have, and you still have so much more than anybody, like, most people. And so it's easy though to fall into that. I mean, we're just humans.
Yeah, living in California, in Orange County.
Oh, yeah. You suddenly feel like, oh, I'm just Quasimodo running around here. Yeah.
Well, so this, and you know what, you're covering a lot of things which are important, because it's a big leap. It's a financial leap, and these are a lot of things. I've seen people get very excited about going into business and starting something, and I've seen some business plans that it just made no sense to me. But and it's clear that people are kind of up here and not really on the ground with
Right.
the reality of what's going on and the potential pitfalls. And I like what you explained about your husband, because that's going to be another future episode about couples working together financially, because my wife and I have done the same thing, just in terms of, when we first got married, she was well established in her career. But we never lived as though we had two incomes. We always lived with one, just because, if we had a child, which we ended up eventually doing, we wanted to be able to have the flexibility to make sure one of us was always with him, and so there is an element, and I like that you said that, of thinking ahead, because too often times people will look at starting a business as more of a Hail Mary, and that, okay, this is going to solve all the problems. And I started my practice when I had a truck payment in a studio apartment down on Belmont Shore. I wasn't married, so there was nobody else depending on me, and so in your situation, it's you have a spouse, and it's a different kind of risk. So tell me, I guess in full disclosure, I should share, I am a client of yours.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything.
No, that's okay. And we don't have a $6 million home up there yet, but
you have a beautiful home.
Thank you. And so I was kind of curious if it's okay, if it's fair, and if not, we can edit this out. But what kind of people you work with? I'm just sort of curious as to, the kind of clients you have, and maybe even too, along in that same vein, maybe kind of explain the challenges, that have come aside from the just getting it set up and running it, and the personal, dealing with the transition in your life yourself. But, what are the challenges of just running the business, and what kind of people do you work with?
I work with all kinds of kinds. They come from all over the country. I've had a client that's primary residence was Japan. Some have pretty strong ties back to Bozeman or, Gallatin County. Some don't. Some just, it's almost like they just spun a globe and they landed here and came here, and this is what they love, right? So I'm always welcoming, whoever wants to come to Montana. And I it's obviously more business for me, but I've got clients that truly just have vacation homes here. So they'll come to have a white Christmas because maybe they live in Florida, or they'll just come for a 2-week retreat in the summer and hike and do that, and then they go home. But then there's some true snowbirds. There's some that bought this home and their projected retirement is 5 to 10 years. And so here I am till they retire and move here full time. I manage everything from like a penthouse condo to a $6-7 million home on 30 acres. So it's really just there's really no one alike. And that's why a lot of people will call and ask like, well, what are your package options? You're the package, right? So I can't just, it's whatever you want or don't want. And we do have, a baseline of things. We're not just going to be like a Girl Friday service, but it's just all just totally tailored to the customer and the client and what they want. Some people want it all. Some people don't want much. And it's just, you just don't know. But all the different kinds of people, they have amazing careers and amazing jobs. They're all very fascinating. I love getting to connect with them a little bit professionally and learning just a little bit more. Sometimes I meet their families and that kind of thing, which is really exciting. There is some challenges, I suppose, in that most of my clients are living a lifestyle that I don't live. I don't have a vacation home, and I don't have the resources to pay for things that they're paying for. And so just adapting and learning to that. There's some things that clients want or need with no price tag, and like just removing my own feelings and beliefs about some things has been a challenge. Like, okay, but I don't I just don't think you need to spend that kind of money on that. But it's not me. It's not my life. It's what matters to them. And that's important. I think too, clients coming from a very city atmosphere where some of them are living in, penthouses in a, 50-story building or more, I don't know. And so they don't have a yard, they don't have recreation, they don't have those things to consider. And so then coming out here, there's a lot to consider. And so I try very hard to just gently encourage them to do things that improve the well-being of this community that they've chose to be in for a couple weeks a year, like planting trees and making sure that we had a huge fire 2 years ago now, I think, Labor Day. It's almost 2 years. September, this will be 2 years. But anyway, it burned everything, and just the replanting of trees and caring for what was destroyed. They really leaned on me for that, and I'm grateful for that. But there's just certain things that they don't consider, and all of the clients do. Just coming to a very rural place, right? The grocery store is 20 minutes away. It is. Oh, you don't have Uber Eats? We don't. Just stuff like that they have to get used to, and that's what I'm here for. They call me and say, "How do we do this?" Because there's no service for that. And so, yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good learning experience for me. And I do kind of pride myself a little on being a chameleon. I can, associate with and provide for people that are outside of my job, probably not in my normal social circle, and be just very candid and genuine. Even still, I do care about them, and I want them to enjoy everything that I love about Montana without having to worry about all the things that they could be with a home of the caliber that these clients have. So hopefully that answers it.
No, that's great.
Might be a little long-winded there.
No, it's good because it gives people a flavor of, again, these are just challenges that a lot, if you haven't been self-employed, these are a lot of the issues that get removed, that people don't have experience with. You had mentioned too the challenge of working with people and gaining trust virtually like this.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I've somehow been able to do that without just naturally. But it's a big deal. I mean, I've managed some of these homes for a year and never met. Well, you're a good example. I've managed your home for, I don't know how long, probably maybe 6 months,
yeah,
4 months, 5 months. I don't know, but I've never met you in person, right? You've seen me and we've talked on the phone, but you just don't really know me, and it's just you mailed me a key, and a lot of clients are the same way, and it's just critical. I think that the reports that I send, they can see like, oh, she's really in there. Of course, a lot of clients, and I encourage a lot of clients to have cameras and security systems. They can see me in there, but they're not watching those daily. And the trust has really not been something I've struggled with gaining, but it is awkward for me a little bit. I feel like, man, I really gotta show them that this is worth it to them, because they've never met me, and and then they meet me and it's even better. But the trust has been it's just interesting, and a lot of these people have this service at home, and it's also encouraging to me on like a deeper level that humanity is still trusting, and humanity is still seeing the good in things and people, and they're willing to just say, yeah, there's this blonde girl in Montana, she does this, and here's my keys.
Yeah.
And so that's great. A lot of my clients come from referrals from other professionals too, so that helps.
No, you have, speaking as a client, I got referred to you by the realtor agent that, sold us the property. Again, it is a leap, speaking from this side of the desk, because although I have to say in full disclosure, it was after the time we talked and had this kind of a call that I gave you my alarm.
Exactly.
That was me hanging on to my last little bit of control.
Yeah, you're unique. So it was interesting too, and I could tell, like, I was like, well, I guess I'm going here at this time. Can you disarm the alarm? Which you're my first client that's not like just, here you go, here's my everything and my, whatever. But that's okay. That's good. It's your stuff. And I would be exactly like you, where I'm like, I don't want them to know my code. But It's just, like I said, all kinds of kinds. And some of my clients are high profile people in the country. And so that's always a game, a totally different ball of wax jumping through those hoops. So you're really not that extreme, but it's just funny. Yeah, everybody's different, and that's at your comfort level. I'm easy. As long as I can get in and do my job, it's okay.
No, I know it's just one of those things. But I guess the reason why I bring that up is when you do, once we had a face-to-face, and those reports you send are really great. And the peace of mind factor, I mean, knowing, because I flew out, I think I shared with you when we started, I flew out. I know these sound like first world quality problems, but you work hard, you gain an asset, you want to take care of it. And I had to fly out there it was, I think, February of, when was it, 2020? 2021, because there was so much snow built up on that balcony back there. I mean, it was like 1.5 feet, and I had to go and really flew out just to shovel the balcony off,
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot.
And it was like 11 below. I remember that. It was really cold, but so to not have to worry about those things is really, and your contracts, you mentioned those, but to me, those are all signs. Those are things you look at when you can't be there face to face. It's a sense of it's really tight. It's pretty thorough. And so, anyway, so no, I get what you're saying. So just a couple other things that I wanted to bring up. You mentioned a couple of times when we spoke before, you're very passionate about your country. Do you mind elaborating on that? Because it's nice to hear.
Oh yeah, I love this country, and I'm very, very fortunate to have been born and raised in this country. We have such a rich, amazing, beautiful history that's gotten us to where we are today, and current issues aside, we'll always have them. It's a result of a growing country. As long as you have people in it, there's going to be problems. But
Yeah.
I just think that it's still the greatest place to live. And I've got just deep rooted history in my family for fighting for the fact that I can vote, and that I can run a business with my intentions and my goals and my beliefs, and I can leave a cushy bank job and take that big leap of faith, and I'm gonna make it, because this is America, and you can literally do anything if you're willing to put in that work, and you have that mentality of that you want to hand up, not a handout. You want somebody to give you the work, and you're not too proud to ask for the work, and be grateful when you have it, because working really is a privilege, even in a first world country. And if you don't want to get up and go to work every day, it's also the beauty of this country is that you're going to be okay. And just to be able to be as free as we are, and I know the mask mandate and all of those things that came up, but we still are very free people. And you know what? If you didn't want to wear a mask, you weren't going to get executed for it. You weren't going to get exiled. It just and I know that sounds dramatic, but I mean it's just so incredible. And I watch other people make it, and I watch other, people fall and hit their rock bottom, and they make it again. And it's because of where we live, and it's because of generations and such good, rich history that's got us where we are. And yeah, it's just so hopeful to me. And I just find a lot of peace in just knowing that I live in the best place possible in the entire world.
No, it's nice to hear. And I have to say, I feel the same way. I have my office in Long Beach, and I'm able to put up pictures of the Savior on the wall because it's my office and it's my company.
Yeah,
and
right.
People don't have it's just, you're right. There's a lot of things I think that can get lost and we can take for granted because of other things that are going on that are kind of a distraction, but there's a spirit there, and I 100% agree. So last thing, Lindsay, I just be curious, because I know I will say, set this up with my own experience, that running this company I have for, gosh, I'm getting old, but it's been almost 27, it'll be 27 years in August. I've been self-employed, and
okay, wow.
And it's been, and aside from the confidence that you get, the learning that for me, I realized I had a lot more business sense than I really was aware of. I didn't know that about myself, that I just have the ability to make good decisions most of the time. It's been a real spiritual journey, and I think that's the thing that I can look at. I'll just share with you, and then I'll ask you to kind of just throw in any thoughts that fit to kind of wrap this up. But there was a time where I had a partner when I first started my company. And, one of those things that they say about don't go into business with your friends. I learned that firsthand. And it was unfortunate, but, and so we went our separate ways a year into it. And I was like kind of at a crossroads in life, really. And I was just thinking maybe I'll just, run off to Club Med or, become a personal trainer, just completely just give up. And I had a night where I went and through direction of a kind of a spiritual advisor of mine, said a prayer, just ask God for some help. And the thought came to my mind, just try. And I remember thinking, that was July 4th of 1996. And I remember thinking, okay, I can just try. And that way, if I fail, at least I know I didn't quit. And here I am, a couple of decades later. But through that process, I've seen God's hand in some of the clients I've met and how things have worked. And even the people I work with, they've, my associates in my office in Long Beach are just really quality individuals. And so that's the thing for me. It's been a real spiritual journey. And so I'm kind of curious to this point, how you've personally grown through this whole experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, personally grown, is a lot. I mean, I've really gained a little bit deeper confidence in myself. I've always been a little bit more of a confident person, even when I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. You're gonna believe me probably, but I've really grown. I've learned to take a step back and say like, I don't really know. Let me find the answer instead of just feeling like I had to provide the answer all the time. On a religious level, God's going to provide for me, whether I completely fail at this business or not, but just having faith that there's somebody with a bigger plan than you takes a lot off my shoulders. It makes me realize like, man, like my problems aren't that big. Someone's got my back that is going to make sure I'm okay. And so that's really comforting to me. And on a non-religious example, Michael Jordan, I don't know if you've watched that documentary, The Last Dance, but his attitude and his mentality about winning and about doing whatever you have to do to be the best and to win, it's incredible. And it's something we could all learn from. And so that's that story and that mentality is something that's been ingrained in me since I was a kid. And I cling to that. It's comforting. And that's my mentality too, it's just failure is not an option. Even if you don't succeed at the thing that's in front of you, you've got success in other things. You've got marketable skills and you live in America and you've got somebody bigger than you has your back. And, so I just think that that's important to find what comforts you in moments where the things are out of your control. It's a big deal, but yeah, you miss all those shots you don't take. Right. So just what you're saying about somebody, that feeling you got of like, just do it, just try it, just try. And then do, and then make it succeed because you can. I mean, it's not gonna be easy most of the time. And I know that my hardest days are yet to come as a business owner.
Yeah, and I think what you said is exactly right. And that actually becomes a financial principle that oftentimes short-term circumstances can cause people to make long-term decisions that can really derail because of the emotion in the moment. So that's really good. You have a good foundation, and you seem kind of young to be making MJ references, but right on.
Oh no, I'm a kid of the 90s.
Okay.
I grew up in the yeah. I mean, everybody loves Michael Jordan. What's not to like?
No, that's good. So last point is, and I, you have a great niche. I was really thankful because, like I said, for us personally, it's just peace of mind. I like getting reports, and truthfully, it's cool to see pictures of our place.
Oh yeah, I know clients love that. They're like, look at all the snow or whatever. It's like I hope it gets you up here sooner. Hopefully my photography skills are good enough.
We also didn't realize we had an air conditioning cover, so that was a nice discovery.
That was funny. I know a lot of clients do that. They're like, I saw something on the security camera, but where is that? My house? I'm like, that's your house.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's reassuring.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
So-
I think you can relate though a little bit too. Like you work in a world, so I do think that our feelings here are a little bit similar, where finances are very intimate. You're very like in people's business, and they're really trusting you with big things and their future.
Yeah.
And so I think like you getting the report and that kind of thing, it's like you can relate. Now the tables are turned, right? And you're sort of like your financial client, like, here, Lindsay, here's the key to my house and my security code. Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what people do with you. Here's my bank account and my future.
I've actually had clients tell me that. Don't screw this up.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So reports are huge.
Well, it is, and they're very professional, and like I said, very comforting. So you have this great niche in Bozeman. Do you have any longer term kind of, if you're looking out and thinking, okay, this is something I could grow and maybe expand? Have you thought about that? And if you have, what does that look like?
Yeah, so short term, I'd love to be in a position where we've grown to the point that I need to hire an assistant. And I'd love to be able to offload some of the back office stuff that I can't sit at a desk. I hate doing accounting. I mean, I just don't like numbers and money. And this is why I have my husband, because it's like, no, I don't want that. I would love to be in that position. Just that would be a sign to me that I have positive, healthy growth. Big picture. I mean, I don't really want to be working like when I'm 50. I want to be gallivanting around. And so I'm really trying hard to retire pretty early, but
good.
But that's just something that's long term. But I'd love to offer this. I would call it, HomeConnect South. And this is big picture. So before I would do something like go down to Big Sky to work, I would like to offer HomeConnect to people in like Scottsdale, where their homes are vacant in the summer, and have somebody, because you have a whole nother set of problems down there in the summer with, bugs and scorpions and I think they call them roof rats, but they're lizards. It's just a whole nother set of problems that vacant homes experience there. And so yeah, I'd really love to do something like that. I'd love to get back home to Coeur d'Alene. That is just an exploding area, and we're going to see a lot more. There's a pretty big population of second homes there now, but I just think this niche will need to be brought there too, and that would be something I'd entertain as well. So just having second locations, but I mean, there's just so much work here in the Valley that I just don't have yet, and I know I'll get eventually. It just takes time.
No, that's great. And I could go on and on talking business with you, so I won't keep you. But it's just the progression of things and getting an assistant. I remember I was at a conference, I don't know, somewhere down in San Diego in the late 90s, and I heard there was a panel of speakers, and somebody talked about the what jumped his business to the next level was when he hired an assistant, and it just like resonated with me, that whole idea. And that's when I made that move, because that was risky. Now you're responsible for an employee and their well-being, and and so now, anyway, but it's just great talking to you, Lindsay. You have a really inspiring story.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome.
This was great.
And I think I was just thinking as we were talking, let's plan on getting together a couple years down the road just to share the follow-up on how things have evolved for you, because that's always kind of fun too, to get back to, see where things have progressed. So anyway, thank you for joining me on Upthinking Finance.
Yeah, thank you.
Emerson Fersch is a registered representative with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisor services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from Capital Investment Advisors. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and the companies they represent are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Capital Investment Advisors. Individual tax and legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal expert. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal.